The Secrets of Movies and TV Shows is brought to you by the StarQuest Production Network and is made possible by our many generous patrons. If you'd like to support the podcast, please visit sqpn.com/give. You're listening to The Secrets of Movies and TV Shows. Hi, I'm Dom Bettinelli, and you're listening to The Secrets of Zack Snyder's Justice League, where we will discuss the hidden layers and deeper meanings of this 4-hour-long movie. Joining me today on the panel are Andrew Hermiz. Hello, Andrew.
Hello, Dom. Looking forward to this for a while.
And Father Chip Hines. Hi, Father Chip.
Hey, Dom, Andrew. I mean, Dom, you said that 4-hour thing like like you were sad about it.
Well, we'll talk about that in a second. Well, first, I do want to encourage you, if folks, please write a review of the podcast on Apple Podcasts or wherever you get your podcast from, and share the podcast with your friends. Help us grow the community of listeners and to reach more folks with this interesting discussion. Well, I'm not sad about it, but it was long. It was a long movie. It's long. In fact, as I was sitting there thinking about it, and I want to kind of talk a little bit about where this movie came from, but just as let's get to talk about the length out of the way. I thought this could have been a 6-part streaming season, a mini series.
Yeah, easily.
Because it was made in 6 parts. It was in fact, it was like throughout the movie. It's part 1, part 2, part 3. And it's kind of interesting that they didn't end up doing that.
Yeah, my guess, and it's just a guess, conjecture on my part, but it seems like Snyder wanted it to be all one movie. You know what I mean? So He wanted it all to be in one place at one time, because that was sort of the vision that, he was allegedly denied, in the last time. Well,
let's talk about Zack Snyder and where this movie comes from and how it came to be. Most people listening probably know in 2017 there was a Justice League movie that was very similar to this one, but different in key ways.
Yes.
And what happened then was Zack Snyder was the director, and he had started making the movie, and very far along in the movie process, he had a tragedy in his family. His daughter died, and he had to step away from the film, of course, which is, that makes complete sense. And so Warner Brothers turned to Joss Whedon, the man who had made the most popular Avengers movies, to complete their superhero movie. And so he came in and he put his own vision and stamp on it, and people weren't exactly happy with it. A lot of fans were not happy with the result, and a lot of comic book fans, especially DC fans, were really not happy, especially given what Zack Snyder had let on would be his approach to the movie. And so ever since, for the last 3 or 4 years, fans have clamored, we want to see the Zack Snyder version of this film. And so Warner Brothers agreed, HBO agreed, and Snyder agreed. And I heard that he came back for nothing. He did it for nothing to finish the movie, to redo the movie, essentially.
That's right.
Not refilm it, but they refilmed some scenes, but recut it and do all the special effects and all that sort of stuff extra, and with his vision. And because of the way it got made, this is a director's cut, but it's a movie that almost couldn't have been made if he'd stayed, if his daughter hadn't died. If this had just been a regular movie, I don't think the studio would have ever let him do what he has done with it now. What do you think?
I think that, that might be true. I think his daughter dying, obviously that's very tragic. And I like how Zack Snyder used the marketing of this movie and the promotion to kind of promote suicide awareness and stuff like that. A lot of the proceeds, from all the merchandise, all of it went to suicide awareness. And there's a little Easter egg in the movie. There's a billboard that highlights suicide awareness. But I feel like, I think they might have, the fans would have had an uproar whether or not that tragedy would have happened, because before that tragedy took place, he was in a war with Warner Brothers during the making of this movie, and they had all these demands, basically wanting it to look like a Marvel movie, because
which is what they got.
Right. Yeah,
With the
the
original.
leadership at the
Yeah,
exactly. The leadership at the time, was like, okay, you got to make the movie 2 hours long. Zack Snyder's was fighting on that. He wanted it to be more, 2 hours and a half, which makes sense. It's a Justice League movie. The Avengers movies are, 2 hours and a half. You got Batman and Superman in it and Wonder Woman. You can read all the stories. It goes on, and we find out more and more each day. I mean, recently, Ray Fisher just came out with his Hollywood Reporter article, and Gal Gadot talked about their very negative experience with Joss Whedon. But I think Zach would have left the film no matter what, because I think if WB would have basically brought him to the brink, and I feel like he probably would have gotten replaced anyway. And I think this maybe would have eventually happened either way, because I think because really the fans made this happen, right? So it was just years of the hashtags and I was at Comic-Con the year after Justice League came out, and there were fans that pitched in and bought an airplane ad to fly around the convention center saying it said release the Snyder Cut. That's how passionate these fans were about it. And yes, a lot of the fandom around it was toxic. Just like with any fandom, there's
always elements.
Right. But for someone like me, I did want to see his vision. I wasn't gonna pitch for an airplane ad to get this release. But I enjoy his other films. I know they're flawed, but I loved Man of Steel. I think Man of Steel is one of the best superhero movies ever made. And I enjoyed Batman v Superman, even though I had problems with it, but overall I enjoyed it. And I think Ben Affleck is the best on-screen Batman that we've gotten. And I love Henry Cavill. So I did want to see the film, and no matter what, all the stories are out there now, and we found out a lot of the controversy behind Warner Brothers and Joss Whedon. But I think the fans made it happen, and I think eventually HBO Max really was the reason why this happened, because no way would this be released in theaters with a streaming platform. Yeah, with a streaming platform, and to kind of market HBO Max since it was just coming out, it's who knows how many people signed up. I don't know all the metrics. Yeah,
I signed up to watch this.
Yeah, there you go. You're an example. So HBO, Warner Brothers found an opportunity and they took it. So I think that's really what made it happen.
On the recent Secrets of Star Trek, we talked about the movie Galaxy Quest, came out in '99, and how
love that movie.
It presaged the rise of the fandom. And doesn't this movie kind of show how fans have gotten power in Hollywood, in a sense, to bring things about? And we see this time and again where shows that are on different channels or different streaming services that the streaming service cancels, and so the fans rise up and say, we want to see this continue, and so another streaming service or another channel picks it up, like The Expanse at Amazon, from Sci-Fi. Sci-Fi is always canceling these shows, by the way, and then they're picked up elsewhere and they become really great. It's somebody at Sci-Fi better get a clue, but it shows how the fans have this power now, and hopefully to use it for good, but they have this power now to, it's an idea that's connected to this movie, to resurrect things.
Yes, I know. Yeah,
right. So that's a bit of a tangent. I don't want to get too much in that. I want to talk, because we've got a lot of movie to talk about. So, but I think this movie, this event, shows the power of the fans to bring things about in Hollywood that they didn't used to have. It's pretty amazing.
Yeah, I mean, I guess I agree a little bit with you, Don, but I mean, it depends too. The people at the place where the stuff is, like Warner Brothers or whatever, they have to eventually agree or submit, and I think the fans of this movie really did, and I think there's other things too. It's not even just science fiction or superhero movies. Like Last Man Standing was on ABC and it got canceled, but there was such a clamoring of fans for that, it got resurrected on Fox a year after it got canceled. And so it just depends. Someone has to want it, and we do see examples of that up and down. I want to agree with Andrew on at least one thing he said. Ben Affleck's awesome as Batman and Bruce Wayne.
I agree. I think he's less unapproachable. He's less of an edifice, sort of like Christian Bale was. And in fact, he may be the best Batman since Michael Keaton. I think Michael Keaton was awesome as Batman back in '89, and I think Affleck, he's not some freak. You know what I mean? Like he's not some mentally deranged or guy in a bat suit who could just as easily be a bad guy as he's a good guy. Like that dark kind of Christopher Nolan Batman was a little too dark for me. I think Affleck's Batman he's still a tortured soul a little bit, but he's still clearly a good guy. So
and he just looks the part. He looks so good in the suit.
Yeah, he does.
Michael Keaton and Christian Bale, I mean, they're short guys, and they were fit for the movies. But I mean, Ben Affleck is 6'4", 6'5", and he can put on the muscle for it.
Yeah, and the other thing about that was, he just looks like a millionaire to me. Like he has the millionaire look,
right?
And that was the other thing that I liked about this movie was the Flash asked him, "What's your superpower?" He said, "I'm rich."
I think that was in the original too, but because that was one of my favorite lines.
One of the few things they kept in,
yeah. Well, and that's actually an important point. It's one of the differences between the 2017 and this one is the level of humor. There's still humor in the Snyder cut, but the first one had a lot more jokey slapstick. There's a point where in the 2017 where Superman hits Batman, when Superman comes back, and Batman makes it. Oh, I had it and I forget. There was a joke when he hits the ground. He's like, "Oh, I felt that one," or something. Just sort of, and it's just a little joke, but it's a tension releaser. Whereas Snyder didn't release the tension as often. He kept that tension on. And I think that's the difference in the tone between the two movies.
Yeah, no, I agree. Yeah, no, I mean, I think one of the things I liked about this movie, though, aside from the different tone, was, we got to see the stories of the different heroes.
The origins.
I think the origin of like the cyborg guy, and which is a great character. I really like that character. It's kind of nebulous a little bit, as to what happened, and you don't know, you kind of know something, but you don't. This really fleshed that out, and I really like that. And to see that scene with Wonder Woman, at the beginning, when she saves the kids in the museum, awesome scene. A great introduction for one. I mean, because that is, I know I can't say this word on SQPN, so I won't, but it's a bad bleep,
yes.
Wonder Woman.
Yeah, I was going to say, just to mention Cyborg again, it's like, I mean, the 2017 film, as far as I'm concerned, just doesn't exist anymore. And
me too.
It's not worth, even watching. And the one of the many flaws, I mean, that movie is filled with them, obviously, but just not focusing on Cyborg's character. I mean, when Zack Snyder was during filming, he would say in interviews that you're going to love Cyborg. He's the heart and soul of the movie.
Right.
And we did not get that in 2017, but here clearly you finally see like how he's the heart and soul of the film. And there are very key plot points that were taken out of 2017 version that have like stakes at the end of the film. I mean, and don't get me, I mean, we can go into all of it. I'm sure we'll get into it, but like the whole multiverse Speed Force stuff and how that plays into the story, like that, all that was just taken out. It's like, it's hard to watch this film and be like, what was Warner Brothers thinking? Like you had all this already filmed, and then they end up spending, almost the budget of another movie doing reshoots with Joss Whedon to make something that was so subpar. I mean, it's really mind-boggling. And if you just watch the 2017 version, you'd be kind of confused about Cyborg. Like this guy just kind of shows up. Yeah. But in this one, it's like he's arguably the best character of the whole film.
Well, let's talk about Victor Stone as Cyborg. I agree. He is the emotional center of this movie. This is the emotional heart and soul of the movie. And it has to do in part with his father, who in this movie sacrifices himself. In the other one, he survives. In this one,
basically plays the same part that he did in Terminator 2.
Yes,
yeah,
exactly.
I was thinking that same thing.
Joe Morton,
and dies the same way.
Yes,
he likes to die in movies.
Yeah. Well, if we're an actor, dying is the best
creation.
Yeah, right. Yeah, it's the scientist who dies to save everyone else. Yeah. Well, and that's the estranged father and the son, the father who committed this sin against his son to save him. The son believes it is a sin, that he committed against him, and he did it perhaps out of guilt, out of being an absent father. The son eventually reconciles with the dad. I mean, there is a moment of reconciliation between them before the end. He gets that emotional moment, and there's a self-loathing that Victor has for what he has been turned into and what he has lost. That at the end, he gets that moment of temptation. When he's inside the mother boxes and he sees a vision of his father and his mother and him whole as he would have been. And there's this moment of, it's the temptation, the temptation in the desert, in a sense, when Jesus is tempted. Look at what you could have. It's yours for the asking. The mother box will give it to you if you let me give it to you. And he's, and it's because the vision says, my broken boy. And he says, I'm not broken. And that's the moment when he is whole, right. And he accepts who he is and does the right thing. I love that scene. That's a great moment.
Yeah. It's a powerful scene in the movie.
Yeah.
And this movie has a lot of, resurrection themes to it, doesn't it? I mean, Superman is basically resurrected. And I love Superman. I want to preface my comment by saying Superman is one of my favorite characters of all time. Sure. I am a Superman guy. Okay. However, I'm really getting tired of this whole Superman is Jesus kind of thing. Let's just Superman be Superman,
Yeah.
Let him save the world. I mean, literally in this movie, they could not win unless they had Superman. Okay, Fine. I get it. I get it. We all get it. Superman's the best. But the problem I had after that was basically they were a bunch of people standing around watching Superman save the day.
Superman could have done it on his own in one sense. He
didn't need them.
Yeah.
The Justice League is superfluous as long as Superman is around.
It kind of felt a little bit like that. I agree. It's like Captain Marvel in the Avengers,
Right.
Until she got there, they were gonna lose.
Yeah, can't do it without her.
Yeah. That's a little bit of that. I can see that. I think Snyder, like in Man of Steel, there was clearly Christological references. I mean, he put him in the agony in the garden. He was literally sitting in front of a stained glass window of the agony of the garden as he was agonizing about his future role in mankind. Like, hi, here's a hammer to hit you over the head. Is Thor around?
Here's your hammer. Go hit yourself. Yes,
exactly. So I get that Snyder is really definitely making him into a Jesus figure. And I wonder, though, if a guy like Superman showed up, and I think that's what Snyder's getting at, if a guy like Superman showed up on planet Earth who could do the things he does, people kind of would react that way. There might be people who would set up a religion worshiping him, and there would be statues erected of him, and there would be and he could become a demagogue even if he wanted to. So I kind of like that. I like that exploration.
Yeah. No, I agree. I think the Superman that I grew up with and you guys grew up with probably, I mean, he was so grounded by the Kents and his time with the Kents and he became, he was basically an American superhero. Like he wasn't like a world superhero. He was like, he fought for truth, justice, and
the
American way.
Right.
Yeah. So, it's nice. It's nice, I guess, to see him in a different light. and he is grounded by his mother and Lois. But I think in the end, this I like Henry Cavill as Superman. I want to get that out there.
Oh yeah,
he's very, very good. But I think they've sort of, I don't know, they kind of took away a little bit of the grounding from his small town growing up. That's at least how I felt.
I can see that.
That's why we need a Man of Steel 2.
Yes,
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah, and I hope, who knows what's going to happen, but I do hope to see Henry Cavill at least playing one more time in his own movie.
Yeah,
well,
I agree.
Especially given that Snyder dropped a couple of big notes in there of Superman and Lois may be parents.
Right.
Yes, absolutely.
There was a clear shot of a pregnancy test that, sitting on her bedside table, and the indications.
Here's your hammer.
Yeah, right. Here's a hammer for you to whack yourself in the head so you can get this. So I would, talk about grounding him. And in fact, I think that's one of the great things about Superman, the character from the beginning, was he wasn't just an alien that dropped out of the sky. He was an alien baby who grew up in small town, middle of America, heartland values. And that's what made him such a great superhero, because like you said, Father, he was grounded in being just a regular guy. And I think that was one of the things that made him so great.
I couldn't agree more. And I think that the Henry Cavill character, I think they did a little bit of that in the movies with him, but I think, it was almost like Snyder was trying to get away from it a little bit. I don't know. I can't, I'm not in his head, so I can't say, but I just, I wish that he was a little bit more, not completely 100% more, but I wish he was a little bit more like the Christopher Reeves Batman. I think, I think
Superman.
Superman,
yeah, that
Superman is still my favorite Superman. I especially the first movie. I think that first movie was just great, and I just miss that. I miss the Boy Scout Clark Kent and I just miss it.
Yeah, I think Zack Snyder has talked about this, and he said, well, the plan was to obviously have a trilogy of Justice League films, and he did mention that Superman would now become more of what you're talking about, more of that homegrown Superman Clark Kent sort of thing, Boy Scout, and you would see more of that come out of him. And you see flashes of that in this movie at the end. What brings him back fully is literally going back home, being where he grew up. So, that was the plan. And unfortunately, we may not see that as with Henry Cavill, but yeah, I agree. I think that character is due for that sort of portrayal.
Yeah, I would have to say, I'm thinking you're talking about your favorite Superman. My Dean Cain is I have to say, as campy as that show could have been at times, I kind of like the Dean Cain Superman. I kind of do.
Okay.
I have to say it. That's probably an unpopular pick, I know, but there's something about there was, I don't know, maybe it was where I was in life when I watched it. But
I had my favorite Lois at the time. I'll tell you.
Terry Hatcher, yes.
Terry Hatcher was a good Lois.
Oh yes. Yeah, Terry Hatcher.
There's a show on now, right? It's like Superman and Lois or something like that.
Yes.
It's
in that
CW show.
Yeah, it's in that. Is it that CW universe? I think.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay.
It is. Yeah.
They have kids.
I haven't seen it, but I heard good things.
Yeah, they have like 2 or 3 kids in this movie.
Okay.
And it's like Superman and Lois as parents.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
I've kind of stopped watching all the DC series just because
There's too many.
Yeah, me too. There's too many. Yeah, you're right. There's just
too many. And they cross over so many times. It's like, I can't keep up with it.
And the Greg Berlanti version of superhero shows is too soap opera-ish for me.
Yeah.
I'm sorry. And too much agenda.
It's not focused for guys like you and me, Don.
No.
It's focused for teenagers and young adults.
Yeah,
I enjoyed the first few seasons of Flash. That's some of the best.
Yes, I agree.
Stuff. And the early seasons of Green Arrow too.
Yes, exactly.
Yes. Yeah, but once off the rails.
Yeah, once they started, pretty much anyone that is associated with Flash becomes a superhero. It's like
Yeah.
You know, they take kung fu classes for a week and then they put on it became ridiculous. And like you said, it's meant for that CW audience. And,
you
know, I guess they get ratings.
So we should, speaking of the Flash, we should talk about Barry Allen in this one. So in the previous version, Barry was much more comic relief. He was kind of the goofy member of the group. In this one, he's still a bit of the
He's a goof.
He's the newbie. He's the new superhero who kind of like, oh, it's the bat signal. That's for you. Oh, sorry. Like, you know, that sort of thing. He's still really excited about being a superhero.
Right.
I mean, the best thing that they preserved from both was when when Bruce Wayne is going to try to pitch him on becoming part of the team. He's like, I'm in. Like, before he can get half a sentence out, I'm in.
I'm in.
Because we all would. Like,
exactly.
Barry is the audience, right?
Right.
But he's got much more to do in this one. He's got much more vital role. He gets a better introduction where he saves Iris West, who is his future love interest for those who know the comic book. You know, when he's at the pet shop, he gets to see his dad. You know, he's with his dad in the prison, so that's an important part of that character. But then at the end, where it's the Speed Force, where he does Superman flying around the Earth to turn back time to save Lois, it's the Flash who turns back time to save everybody in the universe, basically, because they stop Darkseid at this point. But it's Barry Allen, it's the Flash, who is so key in this moment. And I really like that.
Yeah, I again, another thing, you're just confused about why they took it out. It's like he plays a key role in turning back time at the end, literally, and using the speed. We get to see the Speed Force, which I thought looked really cool.
Yeah.
You know, it's nice to see it with a budget and not in a CW sort of budget. And I loved, like, you see in the 2017 version, I think the difference is, like you said, he was more comic relief, but like they made Barry kind of dumb. Like, you know, there was like that Dostoevsky line, you know, with that weird, Russian family plot that Joss Whedon threw in.
Yeah.
Like, Barry Allen's not dumb. He's socially awkward,
right?
You know, but he's not dumb. He's one of the smartest people like on the planet.
Right.
So this movie kind of redeems his character in that sort of way where he's funny because he's socially awkward and he wants friends and he wants to be part of the team. But at the same time, he's realizing his powers. And it's very interesting. Like, you know, in the film, he has like his own set of rules. He's like, I'm not going to go the speed of light because bad things happen. Sort of foreshadowing like, oh, he's tried to, you know, if you know his backstory, his mom died and his dad is in prison, you know, wrongfully for the murder of his mother. And that's sort of his whole goal in using in turning back time is to right that wrong. And we get to see the first time he actually gets, you know, he does it successfully. And it's the only reason why they win.
Right.
Because they failed. Yeah.
Yes, they failed.
Yeah. So I really enjoyed his character and I'm really looking forward to Ezra Miller play him again in the next film.
Yeah, he's good as Barry Allen, the Flash. I mean, I guess I'm not really wed to any actor that's ever played the Flash because there's never really been, other than this current CW version, which was good for a few years, there really wasn't a good series or movie about the Flash.
No.
And the guy that plays him on the show, the TV show, I forget his name.
Grant Gustin.
Grant Gustin. Yeah, he's pretty good.
I really like him.
Yeah, he's good. I like him too.
And I think, you know, it would have been interesting to see him play him in the movie.
Yeah.
Because they did bring over from the CW version of the world. They did bring a character over who got very little screen time, but you know, it was the same actor.
Who was that?
Martian Manhunter.
Is it the same actor?
I think so. I think it's the same actor.
I don't think so.
No,
I don't think so. No.
Now I have to quickly look up.
Yeah. This Martian Man. Yeah.
Oh, okay. Fact checked it.
Fact checking.
Let's fact check it.
Okay. Now I feel like
Facebook's fact checkers have now determined that this is partially false. No.
It seemed like the same actor. I mean,
the guy who's Martian Manhunter is the same guy from Man of Steel. The
Yes, he was in Man of Steel as the general, right? He was
the general that brings Superman in,
right?
Yeah.
And that's not the same guy
from the CW show. I mean, I'm almost 99% sure. Okay. I mean, I haven't kept up with the CW shows, like I said, but
okay. So
I'm trying not to set us on this tangent here, but
well, now this is peak fandom comic book guys. We've now got to figure out who's correct on these fine points here. I'm trying to find him.
I'll submit that I'm wrong.
Okay, I'm kind of curious. I'm gonna have to look at it. So Henry Lennox.
Oh yeah, you're wrong. Yeah,
Henry Lennox plays him in the movie. And did you find out who he was in the Flash?
In the Arrowverse, he's played by. Oh gosh, I just had it.
Okay, well,
where is he?
Not Henry Lennox. That's what we.
Not Henry Lennox.
Apparently, not Henry Lennox.
So
not Henry Lennox.
I want to mention. I like
that character.
Yeah, I did too. Okay, let's talk about it now. I was going to talk about it later. Let's talk about it now. I found the introduction of some of these elements a little confusing. Like, I felt like Snyder was kind of trying to jam everything in that would have been in the 3 movies and kind of closing loops of things. And so the Martian Manhunter basically has 2 scenes in this. He's the scene where he has pretended to be Martha Kent for some reason.
Yeah, I'm not sure about that one.
Yeah, and then the scene at the end where he comes to Bruce Wayne and tells him, you got to find the anti-life equation, which is the DC version. I'm sorry I keep doing this. The DC version of the Infinity Stones. the Darkseid / Thanos is looking for.
Well, Thanos is the Marvel version of Darkseid. Darkseid came first. Right?
Exactly. So, but other than that, he just, for a casual fan, it seemed kind of like out of nowhere. Who's this guy? Why is he here? And this is incomplete. Am I wrong? Like there were several things like that.
Right.
You're not. Okay. Yeah, you're not wrong. Yeah, okay. and Snyder has said as much. About that scene. Originally, it was supposed to be Jon Stewart, Green Lantern, that comes to meet Ben Affleck.
Okay.
But the studio at the time when he filmed it said they didn't want to do Green Lantern just yet because they had other plans for him. So they didn't want Snyder introducing him. So he switched it. He had planned for Henry Lennox to become Martian Manhunter in the trilogy. So he just replaced him at the end there. Yeah, and that scene with Martha, I mean, with Lois, and him pretending to be Martha, I think that was, just a cute scene for him to play, and it served a purpose. It was like to kind of lift, Lois's spirits up a little bit. I think he has a relationship. The character, Henry Lennox's character, has a relationship with Lois. Lois will go to him from time to time for information. So. I think they were just playing with that connection. That was obviously something they shot during Snyder's reshoots.
Right.
But obviously he tried to milk everything he could in this one because he's not going to get a chance to visit these characters again, it looks like.
So David Harewood.
Yeah.
Yeah. They look a lot alike. I mean, I got to give it to you, Father. I'm looking at them next to each other. I'm like, these guys could be cousins. I mean, they look a lot alike.
They do look a lot alike, the actors. That's what I think confused me.
Yeah.
Well, Ezra Miller did appear on the Flash TV show.
He crossed over from the multiverse.
He crossed over, I think it was like 2 years ago. They did one of those big crossover events. He did a cameo with did a little multiverse thing. So
I want to talk a little bit about Wonder Woman, Diana Prince, and her increased presence in this movie. I mean, originally it was mostly Bruce and Diana, and they were the team, and Aquaman and the Flash were kind of in the background. There was much more of a team here. That's one of the things is when they're trying to and Victor, when they're trying to decide to bring back Superman, they do it as a group. But I feel like Diana, Wonder Woman, got much more of a presence in this movie than she did, and she was much more like the Wonder Woman we saw in her movies.
Yes.
Than the Wonder Woman we saw in, say, Batman versus Superman. I think the version of Wonder Woman that Patty Jenkins developed in her movies, as we've all seen, is the one that fans really like. And I really liked her role in this, I think she had a leadership role. She was she was nobody's second banana. She was strong. She was powerful. I liked her interaction with Alfred. I think Alfred was great in this one, by the way.
That was great.
The tea scene was awesome.
The tea scene was great.
Yes.
I just cracked up over that one. That was awesome.
Yeah.
So what do you guys think?
In the middle of all this raging disaster, they're making tea, and it has to be done a special way.
It has to be done the Alfred way.
That's right.
So what do you think of Diana's role in this? And the increased role of the Amazons as well. I mean, they had a much bigger, that awesome fight scene in the temple on Themyscira. I mean, I think the Amazons all got a much better treatment in this movie.
Oh yeah, that was a great scene at the beginning there, and I did like. I thought that the Wonder Woman character got a much bigger role in this. It was different. It was a little different than the role she had in the last one, and she did have a pretty big role in the last one too. But this one is more fleshed out. It's more, and I mean, granted, there's 4 hours of movie, so you have an opportunity to do that, and you can add in these scenes that, you know, flesh out that. And they cut some scenes too, that of her and Bruce. I think they cut some scenes of her and Bruce that were in the original that didn't make it into the Snyder cut, but I think they were filmed by Joss Whedon, and I'm not sure how Joss. I'm not sure how much he was a fan of Wonder Woman. You know what I mean? And I think Snyder really gets that character, as does Patty Jenkins, and and as does Gal Gadot. So,
well, Snyder cast Gal Gadot. He discovered her. Right,
exactly.
She was really a no-name, and that character was in this film, like you mentioned earlier, that beginning scene at the museum. Yeah. Like in the 2017 film, it's like a throwaway scene. You get like maybe a quarter of it, and that one. This one is much more fleshed out. You get more of the motivations of the bad guys, and then you get to see her. Had that cute scene with the kid.
Yep.
And then again, the Amazons, Themyscira, they get more put into the spotlight. You get that scene with her, like after she goes to the Arrow, where she goes down and underground into the temple and,
the exposition
sees like the hieroglyphs.
Doxy.
So it's, and then you get, and then that scene, where she's explaining to Bruce what the mother boxes are. That's more fleshed out. You actually get to see Darkseid. In the last film, obviously Darkseid was erased. But you get to see that. You get to see all these. I mean, you get to see the Green Lantern in action, and Zeus and Ares. And, it's
that
much
was cool.
Yeah, it was that. That's such an epic scene. I would watch a movie just about that.
I want to see Zeus and Ares movie.
Seriously.
I mean, Zeus throwing the thunderbolts was awesome.
Wonder Woman. Yeah, she, like you said, she was definitely. It's kind of like her and Bruce are the leaders of the Justice League. They kind of do it as a tandem, and she's the reason. She's the one that convinces Victor Stone to ultimately join.
Right. I liked her relationship with Victor. I liked that she was the one who went to him and connected with him.
Yeah,
with difficulty, obviously, but yeah, I liked that she went there. She has a wisdom of ages. She's thousands of years old, and it comes across that she has this wisdom that she carries with her, and I like that about this character. I really do. I'm glad they eliminated the part of the previous movie where Batman and Wonder Woman need to bring back Superman because they need a better team leader and they're not good team leaders. And it's like, I mean, I'd rather have the overpowered Superman who doesn't need anybody's help than the rah-rah, we need a better team leader. So much better version of all of them. Yeah.
And it makes you wonder what Josh Whedon was thinking, he had all this material he could have chose from, and then he started to refilm all these different scenes, and it I don't know. I don't even know how. I don't understand like the motivation he had, and I don't understand. Well, I guess I kind of do. I mean, he was told what to do by the studio to make it funny, and make it 2 hours.
Make it like
well, that's pretty much what you get. If you only have a month, literally they give him a month to finish it.
Right. Exactly. Right.
And as you can see, judging from this movie and trying to remember the 2017 version, it's like he refilmed 75% of the movie, and that's not realistic.
I was watching this thing on YouTube, and it was they showed the same scenes in the two movies side by side. I don't know if you guys saw that or saw something.
Something like that.
Yeah, and it was amazing to see the different. Just the lighting was different. How different the lighting was in different scenes, and how he literally cut pieces of a scene to make it a shorter movie. It wasn't like he cut like whole scenes wholesale. He was cutting clips of film, and it was just like
frames. Why? He was cutting,
cutting frames. It was insanity, and.
Steppenwolf looked like an old man, like a nice old man in a retirement home, like in the 2017 version. And this one, he looks very threatening. Yeah.
It was in the original, it was just like decrepit old man with a helmet. In this one, it was truly alien, truly scary and different, and much better that way. Let's talk about the villains then in this one. So. In the original, Steppenwolf was the bad guy. He was the one at the ancient battle, but that brought all the Atlanteans and Amazons and the Greeks and the Greek gods and all the rest together to fight to save Earth. But in this one, it's Darkseid. I'm sorry, I'm gonna say Darkseid every once in a while just because I've only ever read it and never heard it for so long. In my mind, it was always the idea was seed, but Darkseid. So just gotta say that.
Seed.
I don't know, because you plant the bad seed. He's a bad seed.
Well, he is a bad.
He's a bad. That's what I was thinking. He's a bad seed. Okay. Anyway, but he's the dark side because he's the Sith Lord. Anyway, so he's Darkseid is the big baddie in this one, and I like that. You've got. It's that threat that's sitting there. Like it's so hard to get rid of this guy, and he's like 2 levels of management down from the head bad guy.
Right.
He's got Desaad, who's like the middle manager, who's probably halfway as bad.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, but
this
Desaad,
like a mail clerk.
Yeah, Desaad as the name of a bad guy. I mean, come on, like it's a little bit on the nose, but okay.
Yeah, right.
And the anti-life equation. Okay, any explanation on that? I mean, it basically gives if you have the equation, you can use it to control people, right?
Yeah. So basically, I mean, it's a huge, it's basically Darkseid's motivation for everything in the comics. It's like I said, he's kind of a mirror of Thanos or
vice versa.
Stones. Like if you have the Infinity Gauntlet, you can basically do whatever you want. If you have the anti-life equation, you can do whatever you want. It's just one of those comic book, storylines, plot devices. Right. So it's like really, now that the mother boxes were taken care of, now we have the anti-life equation to worry about. Yeah.
And that's why in the epilogue at the very end, you have Superman as a bad guy. Is that why? Because Darkseid has the anti-life equation in Batman's vision of the future, and Superman is now on the bad guy side.
Yeah, and that's why this movie is so much better. It pays off all the nightmare visions from Batman v Superman,
right?
Because you get to see more of that fleshed out. You get to see like why this happens, like how Darkseid gets this power, and it's because he gets a hold of the anti-life equation. And then he takes Superman, and Superman just becomes, his instrument, and bends people to his will. Those nightmare scenes were really cool. And Justice League 2 was supposed to be basically set in that apocalyptic nightmare world for the most part.
Right. That epilogue was filmed for this movie, right?
Wow. Correct. Yeah.
Okay. So, and Jared Leto was brought in to be the Joker, which what a great scene between him and Batfleck. I mean, it was
so cool.
it was really amazing, that interaction. Yeah.
Getting that mythology, from the comic books and paying off, like, because again, we're probably never going to see them on screen again together. And this was literally their first time on screen together, Ben Affleck, Batman, and Jared Leto, Joker. And just him bringing up, like how he killed Robin, because in Batman v Superman, you see Robin's suit in the Batcave with the Joker's writing all over it.
Right.
So,
and Batman killed Harley Quinn is what he says in back, right?
Yeah. I don't know if he killed her, but he was definitely holding her while she was dying. It wasn't like that specific, but either way, it was cool getting to see them kind of play each other's psyches, and it was
Batman swear.
Right.
They earned their R rating in this one between
they did.
a couple of swears and a lot of blood and gore.
Yes.
So I want to mention some small criticisms. I mentioned to you, Father Chip, before we started recording. I think the movie could have been maybe 3 hours if we got rid of some of the long, slow-mo music video montages.
That's so much slow motion. Zack Snyder on steroids. Oh, my goodness.
Like, this is Zack Snyder without constraint. I mean, this was... there was a lot of that. So that's a little bit of my criticism. And then I had another one that was a little bit of a criticism, but it must have been small. It was long. I don't think it needed, I think I'm glad it was longer than 2 hours. Certainly. Did it need to be 4 hours? Maybe not.
Probably not. I mean, you could literally cut out the Martian Manhunter scenes, even though I like that character. You could literally cut those scenes out and it probably would have been fine.
Yeah.
There's other things you could probably cut out too. Like,
and tighten up, shorten a little bit.
Tighten it up a little,
Yeah.
I mean, I think, you were, Andrew, you were saying earlier that you don't think that Snyder would have finished the film even if he had stayed, even if there had been no tragedy in his life. And I wonder, because I got to thinking, would he have, probably wouldn't have gone for 4 hours. He probably would have gone for 2.5.
The only reason, the only reason it was 4 hours is because it was on HBO Max.
Yeah.
Right.
If this was a theatrical, like if there wasn't COVID and they're like this and everything else happened, if this was going to get a theatrical release, he would have made it like 2 hours and a half. And he said as much. And even, when he announced that he was going to do this, he mentioned that it might be a miniseries.
Yeah.
So they were toying with that. But I feel like, I mean, the whole, like in the beginning of the film, like they milk the credits, like with, Bruce on his journey to Iceland to find Aquaman. Like you can cut all that out. I'm sure you could condense this to that 2 hour and a half mark and not give up any of the essentials, character setups and all that. Like you could have easily done it.
Some of the action sequences could have been a little shorter.
Tighter.
You take some of the stuff out. I mean, there's cool stuff in them, but you can lose some of that. That final big action set piece, that had to be like 15 minutes at least. I mean, that was long. Yeah.
They spent $70 million
just on the cut.
Just on this cut.
Yeah.
I mean, that's a lot of money. That's a whole other movie.
How much money have they spent all told on this movie? I'm kind of curious. Between the original Snyder version, the Whedon recut, and then the Snyder cut, just between all three of those.
I know rough numbers. I know the original movie cost around $250 million to make, and then with Joss Whedon, they poured in another $100 to $150 million on reshoots, and then almost the same amount of money to market it.
Wow.
So that original movie made about 600 some odd million worldwide. So I don't even think they broke even, maybe barely.
Wow.
But so 70 million to finish some visual effects, literally pennies for Warner Brothers. With all those HBO Max signups and and all the hype around it, it's going to pay off.
All told, when you put all the money together, that's like 10 SpaceX Starships. So that's
yeah, really.
that's a lot of
What are
money.
you thinking, Warner Brothers?
I mean, you gotta compare it to things, you know. So
Right.
How many Teslas is that?
Yeah, that's a lot of Teslas. That's a lot of Teslas.
Yeah.
So I want to kind of bring up some just random bits that I took notes on from this that are they're not minor bits, but I think they don't kind of fit in anything we've talked about. But the bringing Superman back from the dead, just from a philosophical or theological point of view, he was dead for a good long time, and it's the mother boxes that brought him back to life. And from a Catholic point of view, and Father, I'll ask you this, Andrew, I'll ask you this: he wasn't really dead then, was he? Like, if you could be brought back to life,
right?
Apart from Jesus, okay,
right?
He's the only one. He's the only person who's been resurrected, right?
Yeah.
Otherwise,
correct.
You know, he wasn't. He was only mostly dead, to quote the Princess
Monty
Bride.
Python.
No, Princess Bride.
Oh, Princess Bride. Yeah.
Princess Bride.
Yeah. No, I think, you know, I'm not sure where God fits into this universe, this Zack Snyder universe. I'm not sure where he fits. I mean, from a theological point of view, sure. Yeah, absolutely. You're 100% correct. He was not dead if he came back. Because if he was dead, he'd be in heaven.
Yes.
Most likely, because he's Superman and he's a pretty good dude.
He's a good guy.
And yeah. So, you know, why would you leave heaven to come back to this?
Right.
You know,
you wouldn't.
You wouldn't.
Yeah.
You know, so I think in the not Josh Whedon, the Zack Snyder world, I just don't think God exists. I get the sense that there's no idea. That's what it felt like to me, because the world is so dark in this movie. It's a dark, terrible place. It seems like,
right.
It doesn't seem to be a lot of joy in this universe. And Darkseid, like, what, you know, is he a demigod? I mean, and then they had a Zeus and you know, these are not real people. You know, they didn't exist, right? I mean, and the Amazons didn't exist.
So they would be super powerful individuals, perhaps.
Maybe, yeah. I mean, Superman. You know, I think in a world where God exists, Superman could exist. I think. Yeah,
he's just alien with extra powers. Sure.
Yeah, exactly. But to bring in the Greek gods and the, you know, it's, I don't know. I just that's my sense of it. And I haven't like dug deep into the theological, you know, meaning of all this, other than the resurrection stuff, which I you know, like I mentioned at the beginning, is a little tired. I don't know. I don't know. I really, it's hard to say, because it doesn't fit. It doesn't fit into a world where God exists.
Yeah, I don't know. I think I would maybe push back on that a little bit. I think, I think, like you said, Father, I think, you know, obviously God could exist even with someone like Superman existing, and you know, Darkseid, and even like Greek gods like Zeus and Ares. You know, I think ultimately you could still point to, well, who created them, right? The ultimate, you know, creator question, the first mover sort of thing.
Sure.
And I think Snyder just uses so much of this Christian imagery. It's hard to think that, you know, I don't know if Snyder is a believer himself, but you know, it's hard to think that, you know, and you have that scene in Man of Steel where he goes to a priest, you know, that we mentioned earlier. I mean, you know, I think ultimately, you know, when Superman dies in Batman v Superman, you see like at the end, the very final scene, the last frame, you see the dirt rise, you know, above his coffin. And then the whole idea behind Doomsday, the reason Doomsday was created, was able to be created, was because Zod's body still had living cells. You know, so that's why Superman was able to be resurrected too. Is just the mother boxes were able to just, you know, supercharge those cells enough to where he could be himself again. So like you said, he wasn't fully dead. And I think the movie, even if it may not be,
it's not
very
clear.
Obvious. Yeah. Even though it's not that obvious, I think it does a good enough job to where you can at least interpret it as like, yeah, he wasn't like dead, because there was still like, there was something going on. Like if there's, if dirt's rising from your coffin, there's and you're defying the laws of gravity, there's something going on there. So yeah, I would say that, even though there isn't specific references to an almighty God, I think because all these gods are so flawed, you could say that there is an ultimate God that is perfect. Right. You have villains like Darkseid and Steppenwolf who are trying to be God, but they always fail. And then you have heroes like Superman who need humans like Batman to save him, or other heroes like the Flash to, they have to work as a team, basically.
Right.
So Superman does a bulk of the work, but he needed the help. And Superman is vulnerable to Lois, who is a human.
I want to mention that, by the way. So when Superman is reborn, when he's resurrected, he doesn't know who he is. He doesn't know who anybody around him is. He acts out. He acts out in anger and just raw reaction. Yeah, emotion. It's only like reason doesn't get to him. Force doesn't get to him. The only thing that stops him is Lois. It's the memory of love.
Right. Lois is the key.
Lois is, yes, as we're told right up front, right in the movie, is Lois is the key. And it's love, which is what say. I mean, it sounds so cheesy when you say it out loud. Love is the ultimate power in the universe, but it's true. It's true.
In reality, it's true. Yeah. And so hopefully in the movie, it's true too.
Yeah.
I mean, I get what you're saying. I get what you're both saying. I just, I don't know.
It's open for interpretation, I think.
Yeah,
obviously. That's what all this is. Yeah.
I think you made really good points, obviously, and I can see what I can concede what you're saying. My initial how I felt was it felt like that to me because you get the sense that Darkseid, if he got the all the mother boxes, or if he gets this equation or whatever, just like Thanos, it's like, well, then all of a sudden God's creation is at the will of this being. I mean, I
you could say that.
Is he the devil? Is he Satan? I mean,
he's just very powerful. And, the thing is even like in the Marvel universe, Thanos wasn't ultimately in control. He wasn't ultimately the power that he thought he was. We see that by the fact that he loses eventually, that he gets turned back. Yeah. So there's always limits, and it's always a movie. I mean, we just got to say that. And this is the vision of the director is, but I think
the question.
Yeah, so, we keep seeing the characters that, whether it's the Greek gods or the villains, they all have their limitations. They're all still creatures. They're all still limited.
Right.
They're not omniscient. And not even all powerful. They're very powerful, but not all powerful. I mean, frankly, a movie with God in it would not be very interesting because God can't be defeated. God can't be tricked. You can't put one over on him. It's not the story. The real story of the universe is not a very interesting movie in a sense because the villain's gonna lose. He's already lost. The good guys have won already before the movie starts. So
that's true.
So I think, allowing for that.
Yeah.
It's interesting. I wanted just one last thing. Batman, one of the things that I really loved in this one, we talked about how much we like the Batfleck, is at one point he starts out as very much, he's a logic-driven guy. I'm a man of science. I'm a man of money. But at one point he has that switch change and he says to Alfred, I'm operating on faith, not on reason here at this point. And I really like that change in Batman where he has to just step out in faith. And it's his faith in his friends, and it's his faith in Superman that make the difference. And I really like that part. I do
too. Yeah.
Are there any things you want to add in that we didn't cover yet? Any things you want to bring up to finish out?
For me, I think we've covered pretty much everything. I mean, I love that scene at the end with Joker. I just, I think I almost wish it had been longer. Because
another movie.
Such a tease, yeah.
Because that's the problem, right? Because at the end of this movie, we see them staring at Darkseid through this whole thing, whatever that is.
Yeah.
And then we have those the apocalyptic visions, and So at the end of the movie, I was like, crud, we're not going to see this play out. You know, it's set up. It's totally set up for the next movie, and we're never going to see it. It's so disappointing.
It is a bit disappointing when you realize it.
And I think that's what really, as much as I really, really liked this, even though it was 4 hours, I really, really, really liked it. It is a far superior film to the original. And, it just does. I mean, the original film doesn't even come in the same league as this movie. It's just, it's
intend that pun, by the way. Intend that pun.
Yes.
Okay.
I intended that pun.
Right.
They can't see me. I did air quotes. That's all.
Andrew, I got to say that for future film students, these two movies side by side, it must be part of a class on how you can take the same material and have two completely different outcomes.
A masterclass.
Absolutely. And it's such a unique sort of circumstance. I mean, we've never seen anything like it, and probably will never see anything like it again.
Yeah.
But yeah, the only thing I wanted to add was, I mean, we didn't get. I guess the only character we kind of left off was Aquaman.
Yeah.
But,
sorry, Aquaman.
Yeah, sorry, Aquaman.
I don't want to anger Aquaman. He's a pretty big dude.
Jason Momoa is a pretty big dude.
Yeah, and again, another. I love the character, and I thought seeing more of Atlantis. Yes. In this movie, and you're seeing Mara and Willem Dafoe's character,
long-haired Willem Dafoe.
Yeah, right.
Long-haired underwater William Dafoe.
Yeah, it was cool getting to see that, and
I did like that.
And I'm glad. Yeah, we're getting Aquaman too, so we'll get more Momoa as Aquaman. So that's exciting.
That's good.
And again, I think if this really is the last time we see, we are going to see Ben Affleck one more time in the Flash movie,
right?
But that'll probably just be a cameo or a small scene. But I think that yes, I am disappointed, like I said, Father, that we're not gonna get to see that story kind of carry on and have that whole Snyder vision completed. But we're just lucky that we even got this one. And
I know.
I mean, for the longest time, I mean, even though the fans were always clamoring, it was always a hard no. Like, there's no way it's going to happen. It's never happened. There's no precedence for it. Even Snyder would say, like, I loved, like, he would love the support, but he knew himself, like, it was what studio in the right mind is going to, put in the money to finish visual effects, like
to redo a movie that they've already released.
Right. Yeah, exactly. But it happened, and in this world of streaming, anything is possible. Like we're talking about at the beginning, this idea of the power of fandom. We have seen examples of this before, like with the examples you mentioned, and like Family Guy had that sort of thing where it was canceled, then it got brought back, and it's still on the air. There's a bunch of shows that Netflix has resurrected, and Hulu and all the different streaming platforms have done. So, you can never, if your favorite show gets canceled, you can never lose hope.
Don't give up.
Don't give up. If there's enough people wanting it, there's a good chance it might happen. Because if there's one thing that Hollywood knows to do, it's to
make money.
It's to bank on nostalgia and bank on fandom. Right.
Yeah.
And God forbid they have any original ideas.
I was going to say.
It's true.
Right.
They rebooted Kung Fu.
Oh my
gosh. They're rebooting everything.
Except that it's a woman this time, and it's a completely different story. But
it's Kung Fu.
It's Kung Fu.
Yeah, we'll just slap the name on there, right?
Exactly. It's terrible.
Yeah. Oh my gosh. So, I think, you can hold out a little hope, like with streaming, maybe if the stars align, maybe, they can keep the Snyderverse and HBO Max sort of thing. Maybe they'll give it a miniseries.
Yeah.
Why not? I think it's all at the end. It all comes down to money. So I think if the returns on this are enough to where Warner Brothers can't say no, then I can see them doing it again. But
in the worst movie year ever, it's a low bar for them to succeed.
Sure. Sure.
Yeah.
That is correct.
Right.
That's true.
Right. All I have to say to that is bring back Firefly. Sorry.
Oh, please. Well, not with Joss Whedon, I don't think.
Without Joss Whedon.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, I'm done with Joss Whedon. Yeah.
That's a whole. I mean, his crimes go far beyond what he did to the 2017
That's true.
Justice League.
Right.
All
Absolutely.
right. We should before we get into that, let's wrap things up there.
All
I think that was a good 1 hour something discussion of the 4-hour movie. So before we go, I do want to thank our patrons who make it possible for us to create the secrets of movies and TV shows, including Russ L, Faker Mage, Michelle L, Matthew D, and Gregory F. Their generous donations at sqpn.com/give make it possible for us to continue the secrets of movies and TV shows and all the shows at StarQuest. You can join them by visiting sqpn.com/give. I want to recommend, if you like this podcast, check out our other podcasts. We have a whole bunch of ones. We have ones about other shows and movies like Star Trek and Doctor Who. We also do ones on Jimmy Akin's Mysterious World, American Catholic History. We have a whole bunch of shows. I want you to check them all out.
Star Wars.
Secrets of Star Wars,
yes.
Catholics of Oz, Secrets of Technology. I think I got them all. So, so check them all out. We've got a lot of great shows to check out. So that's it from us. What did you think of Zack Snyder's Justice League? What did we miss? We certainly missed something. We want to hear from you. Let us know by commenting on the show at sqpn.com/secrets or the StarQuest Facebook page at facebook.com/StarQuestMedia. Or send us an email to secrets@sqpn.com. Until next time, Father Chip Hines, thank you for joining me and sharing the secrets of Zack Snyder's Justice League.
Thanks for having me, Dom.
Andrew Hermiz, thank you as well.
Thanks, Dom. It was a pleasure.
And once again, I'm Dom Bettinelli. Thank you for listening to the secrets of movies and TV shows on StarQuest.